technology amazing? You got to listen and make the right choices. How about that on the microphone? What's up, y'all? This is Rev Jeff. And as you can see, we are absolutely 100% live at the Infinity Fellowship. And I'm so pleased you decided to join us today. We are prepping for service. We're getting ready. So I invite you wherever you are in the world as you are watching. If you are driving, if you're on your way here, be careful, be cautious. Make sure you arrive safely. If you're watching us online, I invite you to gather your friends, gather your family members, get your coffee, get your tea, get into your comfortable space, put us up on the big screen at the Infinity Fellowship. Welcome to your spiritual home. It is Give Speak Sunday. We got a lot of great spiritual food to feed you today, and we're looking forward to having you here. Talk to us in the chat, say hello, let us know you're here, let us know you're popping and alive. I'm so pleased to welcome you home to Infinity. We'll see you in a minute. Good morning, Infinity. We want to say good morning to everybody in the space today and at home. What a wonderful day. It's time for us to open the way to spirit. So I invite all eyes in the space to close, all eyes at home to close, all heads to bow, all hearts to open as we begin to focus on the God of our acceptance and understanding today as we begin our divine service. Oh, what a fellowship. What a moment to gather together. What a moment to vibrate around the high frequency of God energy. It is from this space of calmness, it is from this space of understanding that we speak directly to spirit. God, we thank you for gathering in this space today. We thank you for the goodness that you've put into the world. Thank you for the gifts that you have bestowed upon us. We've been through some things this week from all over the world. We've seen societal shifts. We've seen familial shifts. We've seen personal shifts. We have carried some weight. We're so glad to say that in this moment, we release that weight. We release that energy. We let it go and we let it mold itself into the larger universe, and that is the universe that you are in control of. We know that you are a good God. You have brought us from a mighty, mighty long way. And so we celebrate in this moment with a breath of gratitude. We say thank you today. Thank you today for those who are pursuing their dreams and pushing their creativity into the world. Thank you for the life lessons that we will teach today, that we will share, that we will download from Spirit today. Thank you for the gift of our children, that although sometimes they make us want to pull our hair out, they give us joyfulness when we see them in those calm moments when they're sleeping. And we recognize that we are in charge of infusing them with the lessons that will help them to grow and to know you. What a gift it is. We thank you for the relationships, even though we have some obstacles sometimes. We thank you for the gifts that are inside us that are so bright that sometimes it takes a minute for us to get the right alignment. But we thank you for that nuclear energy of love, and we proclaim it to be manifest for those who know that it is coming their way. Thank you for the gift of a divine purpose. Thank you for knowing why we're here. Thank you for the agreement and the reminder of the agreement that we made before we got into these bodies, that we were going to come into this world and leave it a better place. And so we thank you for the gifts that we are putting in the world today. We thank you for the music. We thank you for the technicians today. We thank you for the attendees in person today. We thank you for the attendees online today. We speak synchronization of all of these energies today so that something may be said or shared that reminds us always that we are loved, we are covered, we are protected, never rejected by you. For these things and others that we cannot put into words, we simply say thank you. We breathe in together, exhale and let it go, and proclaim it as such, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Hotep, Shalom, Namaste, Ashe. Ashe. In this moment of remembrance, as we pour our libations today, we pour the water that represents the living, and we recognize and remember those who have gone before, represented by the earth that we pour into. We understand that we all stand on the shoulders of the beings who came before us. And so we pause in this moment to open the way for them, as absence in the physical body simply means presence in the divine and limitless cosmos that surrounds us. The Lakota people use the term mitakwiasan. Everybody say mitakwiasan. I love it. It means me and all my relations. We learn some new languages around here, but all my relations, that means that anytime you enter a room, anytime you go somewhere, you're never by yourself. But all the people who are in your family, all the people who are in your friend circle, who ever believed in you, whoever poured into you while they were in the body, now that they are no longer in the body, they're still with you. Their essence and their energy walks in. So when you walk into a room, even if you or one person around a table of a dozen, those dozen people are outnumbered, because you're walking on the shoulders of those who came before, and they are the wind beneath our wings. So always remember that, because we bring our folks with us. And as we pour, we speak the ancient word Ashe, which represents spirit, essence, infinite power, and divine proclamation. So we say, cool water, freshen and consecrate this house today, Ashe. Freshen our collective ancestors, Ashe. We give praise in this moment, in this time, in this space to Almighty Mother, Father, God, divine source and all creation, Ashe. Grant to us peace and prosperity, Ashe. To the seven directions, to the energy of the north, where we find our direction, where we focus on our insight and listening to the inner being, Ashe. To the energy of the south, where we always remember where we come from, because you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been, Ashe. To the rising sun energy of the east, recognizing that today's a new day, tomorrow is gone, you can't get it back, so you might as well live in the present and do what you're supposed to do, Ashe. To the divine setting sun in the west, at the end of those days when we're tired, there's still a light in the sky, and that lunar energy provides that energy that we need to rejuvenate and recover, Ashe. To the ground that we stand on below us, recognizing that being grounded, being rooted, gives us strength, it gives us purpose, it gives us power, Ashe. To the skies above us, in this space where we recognize that we can dream and create those dreams in manifest reality, Ashe. To the space where they all come together, the space of the heart, the things that we love, the spaces we know are true to us, we keep them in this space and radiate them from within, without, Ashe. To the energies of special people now that we want to call, the second year anniversary this week of the transition of our brother Jeff Napier's dad, John Napier. We pour energy to him, John, brother John, Ashe. To, in an unexpected way, to a young comedian and writer who created the series Bust Down, Jack Knight, transitioned, 28 years old. A lot of people on the online space were fans of him and his work, but definitely did a great job of manifesting his purpose and living in the world, Ashe. We ask in this moment that if you have ancestors you want to type into the box at home, please do so. And if you have people you want to remember in the space today, go ahead and call their names aloud as we pour these next few pours of water. And to the children in the womb, world, and yet unborn, we say together, Ashe, 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 oh! Awesome. I turn our attention to today's meditation. Today's meditation comes to us from Black Elk. Black Elk was a legendary Wiccasawakan, which is medicine man of the Oglala Lakota Sioux people. And you'll see at home that it's on your screen right now. The day's meditation reminds us that the first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that its center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. Deep breath in on that one. Exhale, let it go. Let us keep this in our consciousness throughout today's service. It's particularly important as we begin to talk about today the concept of the self and what that energy means. Let us prepare for our statement of infinitude. Ashe.
Good morning. As I welcome you to the Infinity Fellowship, I remind you of the 4 core principles of our gathering. We call it SNAP, so let's get a little snap in. S is for spirituality, N is for nurturing, A is for action, and P is for the proof. This is the foundational practice of true interspirituality where all paths lead to the destination of love. I invite you all at home and in space to stand with me and join me in our statement of infinitude. We agree that we are beings of pure, eternal spirit, birthed from the creative potential of the universe, with all the powers of the Creator inherent within us. We embrace the innate goodness of humankind and an abundant creation that provides for us through the seeds that we plant in our everyday lives. We acknowledge that who we are is housed in a temporary biological organism, and as such, it is our responsibility to take care of it, because it will only last for a precious window of time. As we nurture ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, we commit to provide like acts of nurturing for our fellow brothers and sisters of the world we live in, embracing all regardless of religious faith, skin color, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic background. All are truly welcome at Infinity. We agree and accept that various religions exist as a unique opportunity for humanity to get to know one another through meaningful conversations that seek to explore the core concepts we share in common. It is the application of ancient wisdom, scientific discovery, and spiritual practices, both physical and metaphysical, that will lead us closer together as a human family. We commit to exist now and ever as a beloved community. Let it be so according to the many ancient terms of affirmations. Amen. Amen. Hotep. Shalom. Namaste.
Namaste.
Ashe.
Ashe. Let us remain standing as we sing our congregational hymn, Peace, Peace. Yeah, man. Look at the world shifting and changing. Come on in. Today is the day that the God of your acceptance and understanding, the source of all creation, has made. It is a joy day to rejoice and to be glad in it. So as we weave our voices together at home and abroad, we invite peace, love, and joy into our lives as we speak it, as we sing it, as we feel it. So it is. Peace, peace. Let's sing out.
Peace, peace, wonderful peace, enter my heart and bring healing to me. Oh, peace, peace, everlasting peace, let my peace shine bright, so the world can see love, 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 wonderful love. Enter my heart and bring healing to me. Oh, love, love, everlasting love, let my love shine bright, so the world can see. Let's get some joy. Joy, joy, wonderful joy. Enter my heart and bring healing to me. Oh, joy, joy, everlasting joy, let my joy shine bright, so the world can see. And some more peace. Peace, peace, wonderful peace. Enter my heart and bring healing to
Oh, peace, peace, everlasting peace. Let my peace shine bright, so the world
Let my
can see.
love, let my love shine bright, so the world, let my joy, let my joy shine bright, so the world, and let my peace, let my peace shine bright, so the world can see.
All right, all right. Let's generate some gratitude in the space today. So the slide is up for those at home. What we're going to do here is we're going to say good morning to you. Everybody say good morning to you.
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 All right. Good morning. What a time to say good morning. So we want to say good morning to everybody at home too. So as we are saying good morning to you, we're going to generate gratitude. So wherever you are in the world, say your name and one thing you're grateful for. To you. Come on.
A good morning to you. A good morning to you. Good morning
to you.
And we say a da 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 da, a da 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 da, a da 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 da.
Good morning. As we're saying, let's go around. Let's find somebody to say your name and one thing you're grateful for. Ah, Shay. We're going to read some in the chat too.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. A good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. And we say da 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 da. Da 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 da. Good morning to you. A good morning to you. A good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Awesome. Good morning to you. We got Keisha in the chat today. Good morning, gratitude day. We got Chriswell Muhammad in the day in today. Matter of fact, I'm going to just whatever Tony puts on the screen. That's what I'm going to read for everybody here. We've got Terrell Lindsay. Good morning, If family. Terrell coming in from Macon. I also been on vacation. I think people been vacationing out there. Sister Michelle Mayberry. It's a beautiful day in Texas. We got that coming in the space today. We got Sister Robin Jackson. Good morning, Infinity family, saying hello to everybody here in the space. Brother Jeff, you heard us saying hey to you. And we're happy he survived his first week on the job with the railroad. He's letting everybody know. We put the slide up. Very physically challenging. He said, I may be old and ugly, but I'm tough and I don't give up easily. Brother, you are young and beautiful. We're speaking it today. We're speaking it today in the space. And we hope you saw the replay and we sent you a shout out. We were glad to pour libations for your dad today, brother. We're in that space today. Brother Chriswell Muhammad, Gratitude Day. I'm going to send a special shout out to the Muhammads during Standing Ovations. Remind me, I have an adaptive standing ovation from last week, Brother Trey. Is an adaptive standing ovation. Sister Keisha K. Renee says, good morning. We say good morning to you and to the entire family. Sister Tanita is coming in. I'm thankful for my promotion at work. We got work promotions. I'm now a senior strategic partnerships manager. Give thanks, man. Give thanks in that space. Penn Pratt is in the house, grateful for breathing and for breath and for living life. Oh, how awesome is that? Wendy is in the house today, grateful for healthy, loving children. Come on now. I'll take one of those. You get both of them. You got, man, that's a mirror. I love it. I'm with it. Sheality TV. Good morning. My name is Tanisha. Hey, Tanisha. I'm grateful for the sunshine and for my health. Yes. Come on through gratitude. Cindy Terry is in the house. Awesome. Streaming in from Spring Hope, North Carolina today. We got North Carolina in today instead of Maryland. Very grateful for friendships that have stood the test of time. Whoa, ain't no friend like an old friend. Keisha is grateful that everything worked out this week, and she put all of that in caps. So that's a Holy Ghost shout in this place. Sister Michelle is in Texas, grateful for Rev Jeff and the Infinity Fellowship. Words are always insightful and inspiring. Love your family. So fellowship is reaching down to Texas, y'all, and we are really getting that energy out there. Robin is grateful for family and for life. That energy is very powerful. We're grateful for you. Thea Jones is here in the house on the stream. Professor Thea of TNT Productions. I'm naming stuff in the universe. Good morning. So grateful I had the opportunity to spend the most magical 6 weeks with the Infinity Center's Performing Arts Academy. More on that later. I got some alums in the house. I got some Academy alum painters in the house with us today. And so we're very proud. We've been showing the kids, Star. I take executive privilege to Paul. We've been showing the kids the paintings. And we'd be like, you said, she's a legend. She's a little legend right here around these younger kids. Your daughter is. And we say, this is what you can do one day. Isn't that great? To still have young people who can be role models for other young people. It's great. Tashana Lindsay's in the house. Good morning. Grateful for life and books, reading some really good material that's helping me on this journey. Come on through. We've got other folks popping in. Wendy is good morning from North Carolina. Wendy, good to see you. Good to have you. North Carolina's coming through today, y'all. Angie Bartlett Treese is coming in. Grateful for a week-long celebration of 100 years of her sorority in Indianapolis, Indiana. So to the ladies, they're in Naptown, the Naptown. I didn't know what there used to be a motorcycle club on Clarksville Highway. And there used to be a group that came through called the Naptown Riders. And y'all don't remember that. That's too old. The motorcycle club on Clarksville Highway, the Low Riders. Y'all don't remember the Low Riders? Boy, that's a Nashville thing. Nashville has helped me out. I know Trees know the Low Riders. My gosh. They used to shut down right by the Clarksville Pike Kroger. That whole thing would be shut down when the Naptown Riders would be here. I got to be grown before I realized Naptown was Indianapolis. But we're sending that energy up there to Indianapolis in the space today. And yes, for Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, happy 100 years. So sending that in. That's an institution that's lasting. Any institution that can get to 100 years. Oh my gosh, that's an effective institution. Felina's in the house. Good morning, If family. Grateful for love and waking up this morning in Wisconsin. Come on through Wisconsin. Tashana's grateful for life and the books, and we got that one in there. And we got, Leanne is in the house. Hey, Leanne, what's going on? Greetings from Belgium to everybody. So we got Europe is beaming in today. Grateful to spend this Sunday with Infinity, and we're grateful to spend it with you. Awesome. It is time for our visitors welcome. Brother Tony is grateful to be a part of the Infinity Center performance this Sunday. This past week, we're going to put up a clip of that. Brother Tony helped us pull that off. It took so many great people, but we were able to put that in there. This is the time where we welcome our visitors. This is also the time to remind you that if you have a standing ovation today, go ahead and get a standing ovation card so we can fill it out and share it with people. If you have a standing ovation at home, let us know in the box so that we can celebrate you, and we're going to do that. I'm Reverend Jeff Obafemi-Carr. For those at home, I don't see new visitors here today yet, but for those at home, if this is your first time, I go by Rev Jeff in the sacred space, and I want to welcome everybody, even people here, to the Infinity Fellowship, where we make that quantum leap from religious doctrine to responsible spirituality. So at home or in the space, you can take a shot of the QR code that is on the screen. And that QR code will give us an opportunity to reach out to you, to send you a nice little love note and a gift. And we're sending that also to, I'm going to say old folk. So people who've been here, y'all can take a picture of the slide. We're going to send you something too. Because as we're coming back and getting used to coming back into the space, we want to make sure that, you know, that the old folks ain't mad. They got that really nice pen. I've been coming here for 5 years. Right, we're not doing that. But I never got a pen. I didn't get a cup. We're gonna take care of you folks. So everybody register in that database, and we're gonna get you in that space. This may be your first physical time at Infinity, or you may be returning after a while, but we want to let you know that we truly see the real you. We see who you are, and you are not a human being who showed up today to have a spiritual experience, but it's the other way around. You are a spirit navigating a human experience like the rest of us. So we like to say our special welcome, and at home, feel this energy here in the space. Everybody, since we're here together, everybody stand up and turn to somebody, shoot your hands in their direction wherever you are in the space here, in the hallway, in the lobby. Take a deep breath. Exhale, let it go. Send the love around to the folks and repeat after me. I see you.
I see you.
But you don't hear me though.
But you don't hear me though.
I really see the real you.
I really see the real you.
I see who you are.
I see who you are.
You are a divine manifestation
You are a divine manifestation
of God's creation.
of God's creation.
I see what you are.
I see what you are.
You are a spirit.
You are a spirit.
You are more than what's on the outside.
You are more than what's on the outside.
You are a gift to me
You are a gift to me
and to the entire world.
and to the entire world.
I see where you are.
I see where you are.
You're right here in front of me,
You are right here in front of me.
where I can let you know,
Where I can let you know.
if nobody else will,
If nobody else will.
that you are not alone.
That you are not alone.
I'm with you,
I'm with you.
and you are at home.
And you are at home.
I see when you are.
I see when you are.
You're in the right now, baby.
You're in the right now, baby.
You are so much more than your yesterday.
You are so much more than your yesterday.
I see why you are.
I see why you are.
You're here to learn,
You're here to learn.
to grow, to embrace your
To
dreams,
embrace your dreams.
and to celebrate your divine
And
destiny.
to celebrate your divine destiny.
I know all this
I know all this.
because I'm here to do the same.
Because I'm here to do the same.
So we're going to help each other out.
So we gonna help each other out.
All right?
All right.
All right? I know the real you,
I know the real you.
and I see you shining today.
And I see you shining today.
So welcome to Infinity.
So welcome to Infinity.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Asheo. Give somebody a fist bump, high five, groove on the ground, or whatever it might be. I got enough space. I can do all of that. We can do all of it. We can do all of it. T. Whoop, whoop. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. 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 Ooh. Ooh.
And my babies. And my babies. My babies. Y'all right?
And we'll bring the kids down after the offering. So in this moment, yes, in this moment, let us carry that energy into our sacred moment of action, where we affirm the powerful frequency of giving in the space today. Giving is a sacred part of any ritual that builds the community and expands institutions. We are growing, we are expanding Infinity. We're releasing people from spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and psychological bondage. To do that, we do it together, you, me, everybody, as a true community. So as we prepare to participate with this community in giving, and in giving back financially, either live or during the replay, people give during the replay, you can participate via Cash App, via PayPal, or even via mail. We also have the offering basket in the front here. We have, as you see, Trey, we've changed our configuration a little bit. So Trey came in, he's like, there's a little bit different space here. Yeah, we have a different configuration now. We're in the round now. We got circle of energy all the way around for everybody. But you can give in this moment. We want to supercharge this offering. We want to give from a place of abundance, not a place of lack. We want to recognize that all our needs are met. We are breathing this air. We are moving in divine purpose. We are moving in healthy relationships. We are moving into the prosperous space of the good, and we are unafraid to release that back into the universe. That is, you cannot put a price tag on a breath. You can't put a price tag on what it means to be conscious and in your right mind today. You can't put a price tag on it. So it's a joyful moment when we can give according to how we've been blessed, give back into the universe, to the space that provides our spiritual food. And that is the space of good. So find the space of good in that light space. Close your eyes for a moment. Exhale, let it go. We are changing, we're transforming for many people who are there, who are struggling in this space of trying to hold on because they believe holding on is going to bring them the abundance. Oh, I'm so glad the universe doesn't hold on to things. I'm so glad that the universe gives. I'm so glad that God gives to us in this space. And so find that space of good. Find that space of relief and release as we transform how we see the energy of money and imagine that we are not constrained or enslaved by it, but we see it for what it is. It is an exercise in conscious participation in abundance and freedom. We are free, and we take care of ourselves, and we take care of amplifying this signal into the world. And nobody tells us how we do it. That's why we give. We receive such good, and we give. Repeat after me. Everything is good.
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 I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it good.
I got it good.
And so it is. Let us say together our offertory affirmation. We'll put it on the screen. O limitless, abundant Creator, source of everything I possess, you have given me the gifts of life, breath, and creativity. You continue to provide for me without judgment or preference. And so I freely return these gifts to you with my whole heart, mind, and intention, knowing that as I give freely with both remembrance and gratitude, the circle of abundance will be unbroken, and so it is. Dang, you can restart that track if you want. Yeah, go ahead and restart it. I named it I got to name my cues better, but we're in there in that space. So we invite you to give and then get your coffee or tea and return for the rest of the service.
Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is good. I got it. I got it. Oh, I've got it good.
As the slide says,
everything is good.
Cash App, $ Infinity Fellowship. PayPal, paypal.me/Infinity Fellowship. International PayPal, infinitynashville@gmail.com. And there's the address as well. We'll scroll it on the bottom. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, everything is good. Yes, it is. Everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yes, it is. I said, yes, it is. Everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. Come on and tell yourself, everything is good. Everything is good. And I've got it. Yes, I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Hey, everything is good. Yes, it is. I said, yes, it is. I said, everything is good. Hey, and I've got it. I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Oh, I've got it good. I've got it. Hey, I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. I've got it good. I've got it good. We've got it good. I've got it. Hey, I've got it. Oh, I've got it good. Oh, I've got it good. Yeah, I've got it good. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it good. All right. Good morning, Infinity.
Good morning.
All right. Time for a couple of quick announcements and ovations and preparations for Standing Ovations. If you are an Infinite streamer and you have manifested achievement that you want to report as a Standing Ovation today, go ahead and type it in the chat box for us at this time. If you have an accomplishment that has happened since the last time we gathered, please, if you have something a Standing Ovation, hand it up to us so that we can get that done and read out and celebrate it at this time. All right, great. If anybody has anything, great. All right, we'll get it up here and we'll get it read for you. Welcome to July. July is the 7th month of 2022, the year of what? Man, y'all can't be waiting on that one because y'all, everyone's like, wait a minute, overflow.
That's all I can hear. Overflow. No, it's attainment.
The attainment, which is the fact or of achieving a goal. It's achieving a goal for which one has worked. So that means the things that you work for, they're achieved. You know, and I'm telling you because there are some personal testimonies that I know in this room and on this stream where people have attained so much that it's literally it's overflowing. But they're trying to find ways to manage it. They're like, my goodness, I proclaimed it as the year of attainment. I want to be careful what I speak because it will manifest, because this is our daily mantra, which is I live in the overflow. Let's say it together with authority. I live in the overflow. Ah, man. Oh, that's great. I got a piece on that. I live in the overflow. I live in the overflow. That's all that I have to know. I live in the overflow. Simple song. Come on, help me sing it. Come on, y'all. I live in the overflow. I live in the overflow. That's all. That's all that I have to know. I live in the overflow. Man, we're gonna sing that. We're gonna sing that the rest of the year. That thing came down the other day in that moment, that meditative space when you can have that meditative. We're gonna do that. We're gonna on service. We're gonna sing that throughout the year because it is about recognizing and remembering that we live in the. That's all that you have to know, is that you live in the overflow. It's not all you have to think. That ain't all you have to believe. That's all you have to know. There's a difference that you know, that you know, that you know, that you know. And that's what we know. Next week, y'all, is Yoga Sunday, and it will be virtual. So make sure that you tune in on your streaming device to do yoga with us. We've been working through this chakra practice. We're going to add some breathing techniques this week, and we're going to make sure that you can adapt and adopt this practice that you can do daily if you need to. But it's going to align your entire body, spirit, and soul. We have grown to the point where we got people doing yoga all over the world who never tried it before, and they're able to do it in the comfort of their own home. So we want to make sure that you continue to do that, and you don't feel like you have to come out to a space that you may not be ready for, especially when we do some super heavy breathing techniques. We want to make sure that we're safe and sound in the space. When that heat lets up a little bit, we can go outside on the property and do it. But Lord knows I'm not going to put y'all out there at 106 and park. Because 106 degrees, and then you parking that face in the grass. We're not doing that to you. But we are doing it virtually, so please join us next week for Yoga Sunday. I'm going to ask leading lady Kenitha Carter to join me at the podium. Okay. Because it's time for Standing Ovations.
Tune your vibration to a high elevation.
energy here at IF comes from our practice of snap. This is why we snap our fingers during this part of the service. We receive practical lessons and tools for our individual journeys, that's spirituality. We fellowship with like-minded spirits every week, that's nurturing. We take what we learn and apply it in our lives, that's action. And if we do these, then we'll see examples of progress in our lives. And baby, that's the proof, honey, that's the proof. So let us pause to enjoy a collective moment of manifestation and expansion. When your name is called, please stand as I read aloud your manifestation. Or if you're at home, when we'll call off your name, please stand too.
Stand up at home.
When I finish each person's ovations, we will snap our fingers like this and to celebrate and affirm them. And then at the end, we're going to provide a collective standing ovation. All right.
All right.
There
So
it
our
is.
first ovation that we're going to get to is actually going to come from the slide, and I'm going to go to the slide in a minute. But right now, I want to send a standing ovation to everybody here at Infinity because of your support throughout the entire, we're going on 8 years. Come October, April was our 8th year of manifestation, and then services in October is our 8th anniversary. So that's our Infinity year, right? That's 8 years, if you believe it. But people have poured into the space. We were able to relaunch the Youth Performing Arts Academy as one of the outreach programs of the Infinity Center. And Sister Kenitha has been the executive director. She still is the executive. I said has been.
I know, has been. I quit. How about that? I quit.
She has been and she continues to be.
I'm retired.
Yeah, she ain't retired.
No.
There were some times.
Yes.
There were some times.
I was like, I'm retiring.
She's having to play
I'm
that
not gonna do
old
this.
gospel. There are some things I may not know. There are some places I can't go. But there's one thing I know for sure, that God is real. Oh, I can feel it deep within. Yeah, that was, you had those God is real moments when you're working with young people. And it will give it to you. You got to be in that space. And her temperament, y'all, has been so powerful that we had every single day, nearly 24 people were in this place all day, every day. Drop off at 7:30 in the morning, pick up around 5 for many people. And every single day, Sister Denise said, 6. I love Denise.
Child.
Creativity in this place. But we, listen, for 6 whole weeks, y'all. This is every single day for 6 whole entire weeks with other folks' kids. And these are kids who don't necessarily, we have a few kids who go to Infinity, but the vast majority of people who do not attend here because it's a community outreach program, and that's a beautiful thing. There's no requirement that you have to go here to receive the good that Infinity does. When I tell you that these floors were filled with students learning dance, learning acting, learning creative writing, learning art and performance art downstairs. I mean, it's just beautiful. And they put on their extravaganza that Sister Kenitha directed on last Thursday. And it was a packed house at Luby Center. To all the people here who showed up, who volunteered, stars, Sister Denise, everybody, Tony backstage, Alicia, everybody that just helped us put this doggone thing together. To look out in the audience and see people who were alums of the academy, you know, to be there to witness, to see the wonderful things that have happened, going on 16 years of doing this program. It was absolutely amazing, and I want to show a clip, Tony, if we can. This is the curtain call. It's just a brief curtain call, but when I tell you the esteem on these kids' faces to see a packed house of people, hundreds of people show up to watch them and to be blown away, it's absolutely amazing.
I do miss said I wasn't
I'm gonna give you a word
him.
on this because this is your standing ovation. And literally, if you could have seen that show, and I want to send a shout out to everybody who supported specifically. When my mom, Queen Mother Carr, transitioned, one of her charities that she gave to her time and effort was a Performing Arts Academy. This is the first time in the history of the Academy that she was not sitting on the front row. And she's on stage with those kids. She lifted them up. And so those of you who, the exceptional kids who rose above the crops, we named them the Queen Mother Catherine Carr Scholars. So for those of you who contributed to that, we're going to send you out some thank yous. But just to see the pride and the energy in that space, Sister Kenitha, it was your stand ovation. So what did you see that you're proud of?
I'm still recovering a little bit. I'm tired. But I will say that seeing it is refreshing seeing students reach their highest peak. And I know we struggled, all the professors, we all were like, oh my goodness, come on, you can do it. But to see their faces, to see their energy, to see that when we got out there, I remember right before we were about to perform, and we're all like standing there shaking. I was shaking. I was like looking at them, and they were like this, and I was like, but listen to this. This is why we work so hard. This is why we had practice. This is why we never let up, because as soon as y'all hit that stage, your body is just gonna take control, and y'all gonna do the doggone thing. I was like, come on, we got this, we got this. So they got out there, and they just started showing up and showing out. We watched, because you were able to just record, it was a mini recording, because I was backstage, so I didn't get a chance to really watch it and enjoy. And so when I was watching it, I was like, this was a phenomenal show. Those kids did their thing. But, I will say that arts, that is so important, because it gives the confidence. And it's a sad thing when it's being taken away from schools. I really see that as it's a very, 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 very sad thing. But when I look at these students and I'm like, y'all rose to the occasion. It was long days, and it was hardcore. And I told them, I was like, this is gonna be intense. But after, the next day we had fun day and we just celebrated. And thank you to all those who donated, because this is a part of what we were able to do. We were able to rent a bouncy house for the first year for them to really get to do that. We were able to get costumes and, stuff, rent the space at Luby because of everybody's donations, everybody's putting into this thing, so we could really have a really, really good show. And it just worked out. It worked out well. It worked out well. So we're looking forward to next year, keeping it as an elite academy, only 25 slots. And we have one child that comes from North Carolina. It's South Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
I keep getting that
her
mixed up.
grandmother
North
sent
Carolina.
her specifically for the academy.
So she stays here for 6 weeks. So that might be something to think about until we can franchise it out. But 25 slots for this Performing Arts Academy.
And when I tell y'all, those of you who were there, you saw it, and for those of you who've seen the power of the arts, we prepare them holistically. So within the teaching, there is history. They did a salute to Black Broadway. They could tell you about the plays by George C. Wolfe, The Colored Museum. They could tell you about Motown the musical. They could tell you about The Wiz. They can tell you about Langston Hughes. They can tell you.
And the movies that they watch.
And the movies.
Cabin in the Sky. Stormy Weather. The Wiz. Of course, they were like, are we always watching black and white movies? I was like, no. But you're gonna love it, and they did. Like once it started, and seeing how perfection was for being an excellence, seeing that.
Yes, and this is a part of it, because this is even a part of the message today. This concept of excellence and teaching kids, and what we found is brother Ashley mentioned freedom schools with a question mark. Think freedom schools on steroids. And then when I say and I know my brothers, Greg wrote the curriculum for the original Freedom Schools in Philadelphia. So lots of powerful instruction in that space. We take people up out of the seats, out of those chairs, and we infuse them with those things that give them confidence. So you've got kids who are singing solos. I think about Damari and other people who were singing solos, whose voices are amazing, who had never sang a solo before.
No, they were afraid to get on the stage. We had so many kids that were utterly
Terrified.
afraid to
Yes.
even say anything in front of people and all of that.
Yes.
Daniel took that solo.
Daniel sang a Stevie Wonder. Masheria more. I'm gonna tell you, the crowd got Daniel. I was
Yes.
thinking, Daniel, okay, Daniel's gonna hit.
I know. it's
He
like,
started
okay.
hitting the high notes.
Yeah.
The crowd started going crazy. Daniel started leading the
I
crowd
know.
in a wave. I said,
With his sunglasses on. Yes. Yes. Yes.
couldn't pull him off. We got kids,
Man.
man, and you always know, because Trey, when you see the kids stand and perform like that, and they've never received the spaces. That's why space like this. Many kids, on Sundays coming up, that's where many of us got our first opportunity to shine, and that opportunity to shine carried us through spaces where we were not being seen. Right, so these kids this summer, they had a chance to be seen, and the first time you see kids deliver a talent and deliver with confidence, and people rise to their feet and scream, and you see the confidence in their faces, and you see that
And
energy.
you're like, oh.
Yeah, man, it'll take you in.
Yes.
It'll take you
Oh,
in.
and also another shout out to the housing fund, because
Yes.
with them making sure for us to get that money donated that we did,
Yes.
we were able to take care of the kids that are income,
Yes,
below
because
income.
and shout out to the housing fund. Shout out to the Ford. I want to make sure I get them right.
Floyd.
The Floyd Foundation, and shout out to Vanderbilt University Community
yes.
Affairs
That-
Division.
Yeah.
They provided us with enough scholarship money to take care of everybody who could not afford to be
Yes.
in the program, to make sure they had every single
Yes.
thing they need
Yes.
without a dime coming out of their
I
pocket.
get that.
This is what
Yeah.
happens when we
And
build
we were able to work with
institutions
those kids.
and we pour into
Yes.
our young people. The universe responds. So even people say, well, I got a talented kid, but I just can't afford to. You said, don't worry.
And
The
we
universe
say,
swept
don't
in
worry.
and provided, so that is no longer an excuse. That's why freedom is important. That's why pouring in is important, because we get to pour in them spaces, man. It could be a whole message. I'm not going to do it. But yes, he does it. Thank you. So what do we do now? Standing
we got
Ovations.
standing
Yes.
ovations, yes.
From Michelle Mayberry.
And we got, did you?
Grateful for another year around the sun. 57 years, nothing but gratitude. Sister Michelle in Texas. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
happy birthday.
Okay, my knees, Lord. It's been a long 6 weeks.
So it's been a long 6 weeks trying to dance around with those kids in the space today. Okay, good. So those are our announcements and ovations. We got that. If anybody else has one, you better slip it in quick. All right.
Okay, well, so if you've shared, this is what will happen, is that you're going to have a seat. And the rest of us are going to stand up wherever we are in the world and give a collective standing ovation, okay? Here we go! Woo! Yes, those are the announcements and ovations for today. So it is spoken, so it is received, and so it is. Ashe.
Let us prepare for our message today. You'll sing a verse with me, Sister Kenith. I know you got to go with the kids. We remind you that when we get ourselves in the preparation space of our mind, that mind is a physical space, but it is also an emotional space. It is also a spiritual space. It is very much a powerful space. And on third Sundays, we call it that land. That's that land we're going to. And we like to sing the old song, but we like to give it new meaning. So we invite you, sing along with us. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go to that land. Come and come and go to that land where I'm bound. Oh, plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There's plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land. There's plenty of love in that land where I'm bound. Oh, all of my people are in that land. And all of my people are in that land. All of my people are in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. All of my people are in that land. All of my people are in that land. All of my people are in that land where I'm bound. Oh, nothing but joy in that land. Nothing but joy in that land. Nothing but joy in that land where I'm bound. Oh, nothing but joy in that land. Nothing but joy in that land. Oh, there's nothing but joy in that land where I'm bound. Oh, don't you wanna go to that land? Don't you wanna go to that land? Don't you wanna go to that land where I'm bound? Where I'm bound. Don't you wanna go to that land? Don't you wanna go to that land? Don't you wanna go to that land where I'm bound? Deep breath in. Exhale, let it on out. Lady Kenitha, I know you got to go down there with the children. Yes. I appreciate you. How y'all doing today? How many of y'all talked to yourselves before? Raise your hand if you talk to yourself. Raise your other hand if you listen to yourself. Raise your left hand again if you talk to yourself. Raise your other hand if you ever said anything crazy to yourself. Put your hands on down. We got both hands in the air. That means that you have been held hostage by yourself. When we talk about how to talk to ourselves, it's very important that we not only learn how to talk to ourselves, but how to listen. And so as we talk today in this space, the topic is really quick and it's really brief and it's really powerful because this message is really clear. It's how to talk to yourself and receive a good answer. So you got to have that second part. The first part is easy. A lot of us are good at talking to ourselves. We learn how to talk to ourselves pretty quickly. We learn how to talk to ourselves pretty early. As a matter of fact, talking to ourselves begins as a baby when we begin to even babble. We begin to babbling is seen as a sign of intelligence in babies. Babbling, being extra inquisitive is a sign of an intelligent baby. Being prescient and reaching landmarks before other children. These things are signs of creativity. They are signs of intelligence. And babbling is something that not only babies do, but I'm told scientifically is what highly intelligent people do. When you begin to babble, you begin to work things out. For those of you who have seen artists walking around looking as if they're talking to themselves, my wife will come into the room sometimes, she'll say, huh? And I realized that I had gone into a full-out babble. I've been going into a full-out monologue, a full-out dialogue with myself. I've created an antagonist in my mind and somebody who is trying to reach a goal, and I have created the protagonist in my mind, somebody who's trying to keep the antagonist from reaching their goal. And I'm going back and forth, and she comes in and says, "What did you say?" I say, "I wasn't talking to you. I'm sorry. I was babbling." Because babbling lets me work things out. Babbling allows us to speak things into the atmosphere. It allows us to get into a space where we can figure things out. But oh, when the babble is bad. Have you ever had the bad babble? When you're driving somewhere and you say, "Oh God, I just hope this works out. I just been thinking about all this thing I've been doing. I've just been working on this stuff, man. These people drive me crazy. And I thought, oh God, they got this last opportunity coming up right now. And I just hope I can get this opportunity out of the way. Oh my gosh, if I don't get this opportunity out of the way, then the bill's going to be due, and the bill come in, and I'm going to be to pay it. People going to be tripping, and then everybody's going to be hungry, and the lights going to be out. That kind of babbling will drive you absolutely crazy, because you know that you're living in the overflow. You know that you are attaining. You know that you are moving things forward. And yet that negative self-babble is always knocking at the door. So when we talk about how to talk to ourselves, we're not talking to ourself, O-U-R-S-E-L-F. We are talking to O-U-R, separate word, capital S-E-L-F. See the difference? 2 words. When you talk to yourself as one word, you might babble. When you talk to yourself with a capital S, you are connecting with the highest part of who you are, because that's yourself. And I talked to this before. I talk about this, and we talk about this in ancient wisdom, because when you're babbling and when you're doing negative self-talk, most of the time you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to your ego. You see, your ego is concerned about external things. What are they going to think about my hair if I go in here and I don't have this right? What are they going to say? I haven't been around here in a while. Or is somebody going to shut me down because I haven't had the right amount of education? And oh, I'm going to walk into this room and I don't make as much money as everybody else, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be. See, all of that is contingent on what people think about you. It's what people, your image, you're concerned about your image in that space. And that is the ego. And that ego is fragile. It is blown up like a balloon through the whims and through the accolades of other people. That ego can be blown up, and it's usually blown up by other people. But just like that ego can be blown up by other people, it can just as easily be deflated. And when you allow your ego to be inflated by other people, you give them the exact same power to deflate you too. And that's how we end up feeling deflated. We feel deflated when we depend on the ego. We feel full when we depend on the self. What is that self? That self is a powerful thing, because that self is the reminder that you are made in the image of the divine image and likeness of God. That self is a powerful thing. That self is the concept that comes out when I'm teaching world religions. We teach world religions. We talk about the concept that came out of the Brahmanic tradition, the concept of non-dualism. Prior to Western religions, if I could teach for just 30 seconds straight, the concept of world religion teaches you that there's this Western religion, this concept of this hierarchy, where there is now this dualism. There's this energy of good and evil, and there's this final battle where good is going to prevail over evil, and there's this separation between humankind and God, and there's this space that you have to work to get through either some intercessor or some other space that separates you and allows you to cross the divide between humankind and God. But prior to that, ancient wisdom is powerful because it's simple. We didn't have all of these devices to confuse us. We didn't have all of these opportunities to inflate our egos. So we just observed what was happening in nature. When we had non-dualism said everything is part of everything. Non-dualism is what you find in an old barbershop in South Nashville. When you walk in and you say to the old fellas, "Hey man, how y'all doing?" They say, "Hey man, everything is everything." God is in everything. God is a part of everything. God is in the chair. God is in the wood and the floor. God is in this microphone. God is in every single thing. There is no separation between the divine and what we perceive to be the temporal. That even these temporal manifestations, these things that we call you and me, the things that we call me and you, your mama and your cousin too, all of these are simply temporal manifestations, individual temporal manifestations of the divine birth, so that the divine can get to know each other, the divine can come together, and God is so powerful and so big that each of these little temporal manifestations exist so that we can get to know one another as a human family and see the beauty and divineness of God in each other. Anything else is just perception. Everything is everything. That's how beautiful this concept is of the self. And when we do that, then we realize we're not 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200,000 different egos. Those are people who are kept on a string and pulled along by the external influences. And there are millions of the egos in the world, but there are a few who have recognized the self. And when you stand strong in self, you're not bothered by the ego thing. You don't care what people say and what people think. I'm recommending the Dave Chappelle latest special. He just keeps dropping stuff in the world. I love it. They named a theater after him at Duke Ellington High School in Washington, D.C., and he gave a so-called acceptance speech, and they put it on Netflix. Go watch that acceptance speech. I'm not going to take anything away from you, but what he said basically was, I have a right to be who I am. And you have a right to be who you are. And if we compromise that, we are compromising artistic expression. And the last thing you want to do is compromise the artistic expression. The last thing you want to do is compromise what God put you in this world to do. Because if you don't do it, who's going to be there to do it? It's going to be a chasm. I don't care how big or how small it is. You are here for a reason and for a purpose. And I don't care what happened to you in the past, it doesn't matter. First point I'm giving you, I'm putting this on the slide because I know a lot, we're going to write this down. This Nurturing Sunday. First slide. Don't allow your old ego to sabotage your new self. Don't allow your old ego to sabotage your new self. You can keep that up, Tony. And come back to me, but we can keep that in the house. Anger, frustration. We were able to relax a little bit after the Performing Arts Academy. It's been some kind of journey. I wouldn't take nothing for my journey, as the old spiritual says, because I'm telling you, there's a special calling when you're dealing with our children in this day and age. There's a special calling because our children are overly influenced, and you can't blame them, because we would have acted a fool too if we were their age and you would have given us cell phones and Instagram and the ability to talk to a whole bunch of people who, when we're in a state of confusion, will not break us from the confusion, but will affirm the confusion. So they got a big ego device. They're walking around with an ego device. And that ego device is feeding into that ego device. So when we talk about what we're dealing with our children, when we talk about what they're doing, it's not easy, because the first thing you got to do is get them out of this. Because their ego is tied to this now. And that ego is there. And Trey, they think it's a self, but it's not. It's their ego. This is their self. They got divine light around them. They got an opportunity to bring out what's hidden. And yet they're shying away from that and going to a corner to find themselves in this. Those of you going to brunch today, those of you going out to eat after this, when you go into a restaurant, I guarantee you, go and watch and see a dozen people at the restaurant in complete silence, each one of them like this. What the hell are you out here eating with your friends for? You need to be eating on the internet. Think about that. Your friend, right? This is the power of the ego. That rather than reach a space where you say, I am going to talk to the people around me so that I can see the divine reflection of God in them and in me. That's that non-dualism, right? We see the divine reflection that each and every one of us are. We would rather retreat to the space of the ego and go into the ego space. And so we got a dozen people we're sitting around, and everybody is so quiet, so quiet, so quiet. And I said, man, society. So we're dealing with kids. So the first thing we had to do is get a cell phone case and open the door and tell them, when creative writing, put the cell phone into the slot in creative writing. Just put it in there. And you want to talk about emotional pain registering on people's faces? You can see it. You can see it. All right. Today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start the class. We want everybody to pay attention. We want to interact with everybody. So look at what Professor Jeff brought. We got a cell phone case. Find the slot, put the cell phone in there. It was like a horror movie. Professor Jeff, can I just keep it in my seat between my legs? No, just put it in the case. But what if my parent needs to, my grandmama needs to call me? I said the phone. They got the number to the center. We got a phone right there. It's gonna be all right. But you use some big words, and I just want to look up the definition of it. I said, no, I'm going to define it on a whiteboard. But I got. And then they give it up. Hands shaking. Little baby, 9 years old, hands shaking, putting it in the case. I said, man. So these challenges, right? You gotta let go of that. But guess what? Letting go of that, though, after the first day or two, when they got used to saying, I got to write, I got to learn, I got to express myself, then all of a sudden, they discover how to use words. They discover how to interact with each other. They rediscover this. See, you can't let the old ego stuff affect the new self, the recognized self. They had a chance to recognize that they are now in a class surrounded by divine manifestations of God creation who have innovative things. And all of a sudden, these kids were spouting things. They were telling stories. They were sharing things that were deep and profound and meaningful, things that they would never share even on their social media. As powerful as that sounds, and that's real. We were recovering. We were in a bit of recovery from working with the kids for 6 whole weeks. And as joyful as amazing as they turned out, it was still something that you needed, something to help you laugh. So rather than head on down and rather than to go and empty out the Likastow, we wanted to make sure, Likastow, y'all look that up as country. So rather than going down to the liquor store and taking their inventory, we watched a couple of funny movies. And one movie we were watching was a Brady Bunch movie. And that thing was hilarious. We were just laughing, being silly. You got to laugh and be silly sometimes. You know, we get taught in this space of ego, we have to be so focused on the revolution. We can't sleep. I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. Well, if you never sleep, guess what? You ain't got to worry about the cousin. Sleep ain't the cousin of death in your case, brother. You're going to meet that cousin. It's going to be a family reunion if you don't sleep. So we're in there watching it. We're in there laughing. We're having fun because you have to bring some joy in your space, and yourself needs some joy too. And what we saw was Jan Brady. And I don't know if y'all came up on the Brady Bunch or you saw the movie, but Jan always had these voices in her head. And the voices were always making her question herself. Marsha's prettier than me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to fail. All of this stuff was going on in her space, and it was contributing to her awkwardness. And in this movie, the grandmother came in, and she saw her looking off. And the grandmother was actually the original Carol Brady. It was a nice little twist, but she came in, and the thing that she did was she saw Jan just kind of drifting off. She went over to her, and she just snatched her. And she said, Jan, cut the crap. And the voices disappeared. And she was like, oh. And then their little sister started having the voices, so it jumped, right? But the reality is, grandmama came, and she snapped her awake by saying, cut the crap. See, this is why when you get ancient wisdom, when you get elders teaching you and you have those negative voices coming into your head, they are able, those wisdom teachings are able to snap you alive and say, cut the crap. Because this self-defeating behavior that comes from your old inflated ego that somebody outside of your circle inflated, those old voices will damage you. You got to destroy them. You got to cut those voices off. So the question becomes, when I thought about that, is what is the definition when we talk about what sabotage is? Because we can't let sabotage creep into our spiritual lives. An act of sabotage is when you cause deliberate harm to an institution or a machine, particularly for political purposes. But a second definition of sabotage is vandalism. So think about that. Tearing up stuff, writing graffiti on places, putting notes to say so-and-so was here. All of that is, what are you writing? What are you putting into the world? What are you saying about yourself around other people? Are you allowing yourself to be hidden because your ego is dominating? And a lot of us have to do that. When we are moving into a space of higher self, we are connecting with the divine source, and we're not allowing our old ego, the things that we used to do, to sabotage who we truly are in the right now. That's the beautiful thing. Second thing you can do to recognize yourself. This is the highest part of you. This is your divine essence. Yourself is allergic to spiritual terrorism from within and without. Yourself is allergic to spiritual terrorism. This is a real simple one. When people say, how do I talk to myself and how do I get a good answer? It's really clear. It is an act of spiritual terrorism for you to be self-critical all the time. It is an act of spiritual terrorism for you to tear yourself down. It is an act of spiritual terrorism for you to break yourself apart and to continue to find your flaws. It is an act of spiritual terrorism. And frankly, you would be pissed off highly if somebody committed that act against you. If you were in the desert and you found yourself thirsty and hungry, and you came upon an oasis that you saw in the distance, and you found your way there, and Rev Jeff was standing there at the oasis with a bucket, you might say, I would hope that you would think, oh my gosh, I finally made it to this space where I can get some sustenance. But if I were to say, here you go, you made it, and I gave you a bucket and it was full of sand, y'all would be so angry. Everybody would be angry. That's cruel and unusual punishment. Many of us come out of a space where we've been traumatized by religious institutions because there's supposed to be a space where you come to be refilled. And yet you come to a space and all you hear is how filthy you are. All you hear is how terrible you are. All you hear is the divine contradiction that says you are created from a God of love, but somehow you are filthy as sin when you come out as a babbling baby. Somehow you are consciously evil and bad, and you have to live your whole life backpedaling from that. That is spiritual terrorism. And if we react to that same thing from others, then how do we react to it when we do it to ourselves? When we look in the mirror and we don't encourage ourselves, when we don't remind ourselves that every single gift that came into our mind came so that we could manifest it here and that it is good. Because when we operate from the space of self in that regard, then we begin to love ourselves. And when we love ourselves, we give permission to others that do that. How do you determine what is an act of spiritual terrorism when you're talking to yourself? Because you know, when you talk to yourself, I know when I talk to myself, I can have a plethora of things that come out. But there is one way to choose and to judge whether it's good. Answers that come from yourself lead you away from harm's way and not into it. So that's how you know it's good. If you have something come back to you when you are talking to your highest self, you talk to your highest self in meditation, you talk to your highest self in prayer, you talk to yourself when you're walking around and assuring yourself that everything is going to be all right. But when you start hearing things like you can't, you shouldn't, you ain't got, those things are not good for you. But you also, when you start hearing things that tell you to do things that you know are going to cause harm to you, cause harm to your relationship, cause harm to your family, cause harm to your community, you know that ain't yourself. That's your ego talking. So you know it's in alignment with yourself when it is something that is good for you and everybody else as a result of it being good for you. Because when you get in alignment, you give permission to other people to be in alignment too. That's how you're the light and the shining part of that, portion of that. Last point, and then we wrap with some questions. 3, if you keep your resolve during the challenges will resolve for keeps. Challenges. How do we keep our resolve? My father used to say this, and it's a formula that I use every day. He used to say, son, the speed of light is over 180,000 miles per second. Speed of sound is over 300 meters per second. There's only one thing that operates faster than the speed of light and the speed of sound combined, and that's a change of mind. It happens so quickly, it cannot be measured in real time. That's how quickly it happens. That is the sense of resolve. Resolve is one of the root words in resolution. Resolution means it's finished. It means it is done. But a resolution is also a proclamation. When you do something great, a municipality will provide you with a resolution. When somebody transitions into life after life to commemorate their life and their work, they send in a resolution. When you're trying to find the answer to a problem and it comes to you in an aha moment, that is a resolution. You have a sense of resolve. But resolve is not only a verb in the sense of doing, it becomes a noun when you accept it. That means that you have a sense of resolve. That means that when you have the challenges, and the challenges will come, you always remember that you have the gifts and you have the temperament and you have the connection with your divine self to move through the challenges. And that becomes the sense of noun sense, resolve. So when you keep your resolve during the challenges, that noun sense, then the challenges will resolve in a verb sense. And you know that everything's going to be all right. So as we move to this space, y'all, as we embrace the space of self, as we embrace that capital self, S, capital S self, we recognize that that self is the highest part of us. So as you go forth this week, as you move in the world, as you do the things that you were manifest to do, just remember, ask the question, is this the ego speaking or is this the self speaking? Because if you build on ego, it will crumble. If you build on self, it will last. Because that's the space of love. That is the manifest space where everything is everything. So it is spoken, so it is received, and so it is. Ashe. All right. Those are our 3. If you have a question, I'm going to take those questions. And Tony, if we have in the chat box, if anybody has a question to add, at this time as If speaks, by all means, ask that question, put it in so that we can help you resolve it. I know that many times people are masters of self already, and then sometimes they're not, because that's what we're here for. Anybody have a question, have anybody that they want to share something that we can address when we're talking about how to talk to ourselves? Don't be shy. All right, Ms. Denise, I'm going to pass you the mic. Tony, this is going to be Kanitha's mic. We can unmute that. Mm-hmm.
Allow the ego or she-go to sabotage your new self.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand with meditation and all that, it's a practice. But for me personally, sometimes the old self, like you said, it just comes. And, you know, with reading and it's saying don't fuss at yourself for having those thoughts, just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Letting it go is not just that simple. So what else can be in place with the acknowledgement of the thought, but not attaching yourself to that thought? Because sometimes I may think, or my thought may come up, and then the emotions attached to it. Even if I'm saying, okay, I received that.
Sure.
And but the emotions seem to automatically attach to it as well. And it might come from something that happened earlier that day or something that happened earlier that week. And it might come back to you and you receive the thought and you try to release it, but your emotions are attached to it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes all the sense in the world. So the question then, Denise, becomes, are you willing to allow your emotions to rule you?
In my mind, I'm not, but it just kind of,
Because what I heard
some
is
things that pierce the heart, which is for me, my emotions, it just is there.
yes, it is
And it's
there.
not that I want to allow it to rule me. It happens that quick. It can affect my mood. It can affect my mode. It can affect my concentration and my focus. And it's like, okay, I'm spazzing out. What do I call somebody and talk about it? If I'm talking about it, am I giving it too much energy? Because for me, my healing is talking.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to put myself in a position to where, because I'm talking about it, that I'm feeding it energy and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yes, yes. And how long has this been a process for you?
Oh God, all my life.
All of my life.
All my life.
All right. Do you like it?
Not in that moment.
Oh, okay. So are there any moments where you do like it?
Well, sometimes I remind myself that this is a part of my process.
Right. And do you recognize this, though? Do you recognize the behavior? When it starts happening, you say, I try to do this, but it's hard. Do you recognize it and see it coming? Do you know every component parts? When I get into this space where I'm cycling, this is what begins to happen. Do you recognize it?
Sometimes I do.
Okay. And at some point, obviously, you recognize the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So why you keep doing it?
Understood.
That's your old ego.
How's that working out?
How's it
for
working
you?
out? I mean, in the end, how's it working out? And listen, let's talk about this, because this is part of what we talk about when we talk about the therapeutic paradigm. And therapy is powerful. It's necessary and it's needed. There's a difference, though. I want everybody to recognize this, and I'll say this, and I'll fight any therapist who don't like it, because it's what I've seen manifest as truth with people. And I've been in counseling environments as a spiritual counselor and counseling environment in therapeutic space. They're absolutely wonderful. But we also have to be mindful of the capitalistic predatory therapy space, which is designed to keep you addicted. It's a replacement for dope. So in other words, you go 5 years and your therapy bill is out the roof and your manifestation is in the basement.
Yeah.
You're getting pimped. You're not growing. You're not, because part of that model is, let me keep stirring up the well,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
The kids are downstairs, and if they want to, you got to keep stirring up the shit. My daddy used to say, son, if you walking along the side of a road and you find a pile of dog shit, leave it alone, because it's going to dry up on its own and it's going to fall away. But the minute you go stirring in it, you're going to make it stink and you're going to keep it alive, and the smell is going to continue to carry. There is a point where once we recognize the pattern, we begin to change the pattern. We begin to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
This gives us the space to both recognize that there is a problem, acknowledge the problem, and then deal with the problem. If I say there is a mic stand here, that mic stand is preventing me from getting to Craig and Letimecia. All right? I recognize it's a mic stand. I recognize that it's standing in my path. I recognize that it's blocking me. Now, what makes sense? For me to recognize it, move around it, and get to Craig and Letimecia because they're in need and they feed into my spirit too? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or does it make sense for me to say, oh, there's a mic stand here. Oh, there's always a mic stand in my path. Oh, yeah, Craig and Letimecia, I'm coming, but I want to spend some time unpacking this mic stand because it's an obstacle in my path, and it's tall. Oh my gosh, sometimes, if I raise it, maybe I can raise it. I'm coming, Craig and Letimecia.
Yeah.
We need to connect because it's my spiritual food. You really feed into myself, but right now, this mic stand is bothering me. Okay, it's short. I could go around. Oh my gosh, something about that. It's just not right. I'm gonna put it back where it was. I'm just gonna say, I'm almost there, y'all. Man, oh my gosh. Oh, let me try to understand. Okay, there's a clip on top of this mic stand. It's about 5.5 feet. Oh God, that's kind of heavy. I'm coming, y'all. I want to make it. Okay, there's 3 little stoppers on, and soon the thing that is impeding you become so fixated on that you don't have the common spiritual awareness that yourself needs to get somewhere. This is an obstacle. The minute you pay attention to this, is called a try. I try to get past the mic stand, but I keep running into it. You have now pronounced that is going to be your reality from here on out. You have spoken it. You have spoken that you try. And try is not succeed. You've got to do. Here's the beautiful thing. You can put 2 mic stands in here. But if I'm aware that these mic stands are physical representation of my old ego space, and I have spiritual awareness of self, remember, non-dualism, everything is everything, everything is everything. That means that everything is everything. That means that I'm not just looking at the mic stand, but I'm looking at the chairs. I'm looking at the people in the room. I'm looking at it from a broad space, because the broad space reminds me that I'm connected with everything. So at some point, yes, the mic stand is there, but I don't even think about it because it's in my periphery. So I don't even go near it. If I know it's an obstacle, I move around it. And I don't even have to focus on anything else because I'm focused on the big picture. Each of us has a big picture to focus on. And we can choose in that moment whether I want to stay attached or whether I want to let go. And something you said, Denise, was beautiful. You made me want to take my belt off. And I'm going to take it off. I'm going to give you the belt. I hope my pants don't fall. No, my pants don't usually fall down. Look at my teenagers. Come on up here, Denise. I'd have done this before. Come on up here. Because you said something, and I can tell you this because yourself hears this, and your ego's not going to pay it any attention. That's why I love you, because you always going to be like, hey, whatever we need to do, let's do it. And that's the real Denise. So you said something that was an absolute lie, and you didn't know you said it was a lie. Hold on to that. Both hands. Both hands. All right. Now, don't let go. Come on now. You're stronger than that. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Denise. Show me what you're working with. Show me them grits you had this morning. Come on. Count of 3, let go. 1, 2, 3. Which one was harder? Thank you. You lied. Yoga. But this is why I said you lied. You told an untruth earlier. Because in the comment, you said, letting go is hard. You taught the lesson because you pronounce it. We say, it's hard to let go. It's hard to get through this. It's hard. Yes, it is, because you said it was. But it's easier to let go of that stuff you've been holding on to than it is to keep holding on. You use all the muscles in your body to hold on to things that traumatize us, when the reality is we use no muscles to let go. And that's where we got to let go of the old ego so that the self can recognize, because the self ain't bothered by that. The self will walk into a situation and say, hey, miss me with that. And not even think twice. Then when the people, places, and things that you allowed to blow you up when you had the ego going, when they try to deflate you, they can deflate your old ego. You don't care anything about your old ego because that ain't you anymore. They can't deflate yourself because yourself is coming from an inexhaustible supply. The infinite universe, God, is working through you. And just like you have an infinite supply of breath until the clock runs out that we don't know about, the air is infinitely supplied here. They ain't found a way to start selling it yet. But it's infinite and it's there. So when you operate from that infinite space, you are less bothered and distracted by the things that people want to bring up to remind you. Because the other thing is, when you were in the old ego space, you were around an old circle of people. And anytime you encounter them, they try to hold you to that space of memory that they had with you back then. Girl, you remember when we used to go to source? Oh, we used to turn that thing out, girl. We need to go back and do that. I don't want to do that no more. It didn't bear any fruit with me then. Well, man, you remember, man, we were in high school. Boy, we used to go over to so-and-so mall. I can't say it because I'm not sure the statute of limitations is up. But, and that's God's honest truth. We used to go to so-and-so mall, man. We used to rip them off. We used to do this, man. I said, man, you think, man, we could have been master criminals, man. We could have been, man, I got this idea. And I'm like, thanks, man. No, thank you. Because I am not that 16, 14, whatever year old that was enamored with trying to be cool. I don't need that anymore. And if I find myself in that vibratory space, then my ego is going to draw me in into thinking that I got to be able to connect with everybody, and I got to mean something to everybody, and I got to be relevant in today's age. That's ego speaking, and it speaks to me that way. Oh, you got to be relevant. You got to find a way to be cool. You got to be, and all of those things that go to the ego miss one word that is the most important word that connects you to divine self: authentic. You got to be your authentic self. And your authentic self has nothing to do with ego. When you reach your authentic self, you reach a point where you make a decision to say, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody else feels. I don't care what anybody else has to say. This is who I am. And because you declare this who you are, you get the affirmation that it's not spiritual terrorism. Because, see, we declare those things nowadays, but they're all around ego. They're all around ego. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to do this so that I can get more adoration. I'm going to do this so I can get more fans. I'm going to do this because I can get more money. Look at all of those things that you're seeking there. I'm going to do all of this so that I am fulfilled in my spiritual gift, so that I can be a light in the world and lift up others and show them how to love. That's authentic. And you're going to invent and create something that is going to shape and change the world, because that's what you were here to do, and you've been equipped for it. Stop running away from it and then step into the space of doing. I appreciate that, sis. I appreciate that. Anybody? Let me get a question on here, Tony. I'm going to get one from offline. Thomas Sheffield. How do you recommend we starve the ego? Ooh. This is a good one. This is why it's important to journal. I had to journal. I'm going to have a moment of transparency. And I see why Clark Kent wears the glasses. I never could figure out, like Superman, like all he's doing is wearing glasses. There's nothing different about that. Like, I put on my glasses, people be like, Rev Jeff. I'm like, okay, and I take them off. They say, hey, Rev Jeff. I'm like, okay, nothing changed. I never could figure that. It never made sense. But I suppose the suspension of disbelief that you need for creativity is existing there. But I also understand that, because when I talk about this particular stuff, it will make me emotional. But something about having the glasses on, it maybe keeps things from pouring out. So I'm going to hold on to that for a second. But when you think about journaling, one of the tools that you got, Brother Thomas, is journaling. Journaling is important, because when you're writing in the journal, you are writing usually to yourself and not your ego. And if you allow yourself the transparent moment of writing in your journal, that gives you the opportunity to, as Thomas would say in this space, starve the ego. I had to starve my ego. When my mom transitioned, you think everything comes together around family. It does, but there were some difficult spaces I had to navigate with my own siblings, still having to. And some of it was eating me up inside, because I had this expectation that siblings are supposed to act a certain way. Family members are supposed to act a certain way, especially when we're taking care of things that mama wanted to take care of. And I had some issues around that, because I'm a grown man, but I spent most of my grown life with my mama in the neighborhood, in the area. So she would talk all day about things that she wanted to do. So when I see a lack of alignment there, when she is transitioning to space, my own ego is almost in alignment with myself. But my highest self is like, not my will, but thy will be done. But it's also not my will, but my mama's will be done. So the justice warrior in me is ready to fight. It's ready to cause destruction and death. It's ready to just go in. And I had to stop and look and say, wait a minute, where is that coming from? So I sat down in my own journal and said, where is it coming from? And I unpacked the things that were in my own ego that I needed to get to so that I could work to a space of personal forgiveness. Because forgiveness is a forgiveness of yourself for things that you perceive to be mistakes. And forgiveness happens when you stop trying to fix something that you can no longer control that is in your rear view. So I had to unpack that. So I sat down one night, I was sitting in the chair. I went to the chair where my mama sat in the house, at the grandma's chair. I went and I sat in there, I pulled out my journal, I started writing. I saw that I had 2 entries in it. One was in January, one was in February. One was right after she transitioned. One was right after the homegoing. Each one of them was 2 lines. I said, I think I'm ready to write about this. And obviously I wasn't. So I said, I'm just going to write. And I started writing. And I looked up and I finished. And when I finished, I had unpacked all of those things that I could clearly identify were about my own ego versus everything that I thought was, that I knew was about what was right and wrong. And I worked it out. And I felt so good that I got up the next morning, I was completely free. Thomas, what you have to do is starve the ego. You have to write in that journal. You have to ask yourself in this situation, if somebody does not like me or if their vibration is not vibing with me, is that because of something I did to them, or is that something that they are carrying around that I am no longer able to control? I did it, and I felt good. And I didn't even think, I just spent, I don't know how long I spent writing, because I went into that space of just unpacking and letting spirit speak. And then the next day I said, let me number these pages so I know how much I wrote, and I'm going to do my next journal entry. I had written 34 pages, handwritten. It took 34 pages. And that's me, high vibrating guy. So find those spaces where you begin to ask those serious questions. Is this my ego talking, or is this myself talking? Because yourself is going to be affirming, your ego is going to take away from you. So starve those opportunities, Thomas. Starve them. All right, let's get to another question real quick. We've got Sister Tashani. Question: how do you stop yourself from falling into the trap of toxic positivity? When to pivot from negative thoughts and when to sit in it and learn the lesson? I hope this makes sense. It does make sense because you say it makes sense. The trap of toxic positivity. I don't know that it's a trap to be positive. I don't know if it's toxic to be positive. It can be annoying. It could be, right, if it's toxic, it could be annoying. What'd you say, Trey? Yes. Toxic positivity is exactly that. We're going to get to that core place of authenticity. Toxic positivity is when it's false, when it's fake. That's when it's toxic. When somebody is always false, or you know they don't believe what they're saying, but they're just saying it anyway, that can be very, very toxic because it doesn't deal with real issues. Sitting in it, you sit in it, the answer negative thoughts and when to sit in it and learn the lesson. Most of us, by the time we can become adults, we learn a lesson pretty quick, but our ego won't let us accept it. That's the problem. That's why we say, oh, I've been at this crossroads before. I keep coming back to the same thing. I don't know why the universe keeps bringing me back to the same thing. Don't put that on God and the universe. You're making the same damn choices. Stop making the choices. Why do I keep coming to this crossroad? Because you have been willing to be a part of it. Now, there are crossroads you come to where you are willing to learn different lessons at different times. Is it feeding into you? Is it helping you? Is it inspiring you? There you go. There are lots of things to unpack from lessons. Even the rearview mirror is a lesson. It helps you unpack spaces that did not work for you. And that's what you have to do. That's when you sit in it. That's when you learn it. But I say, how long do you sit in a lesson? You sit as long as you need to learn that it ain't for you. And then you get up. You have a natural body response that happens, hopefully, when you intake nutrients. When you intake nutrients, eventually, if your body is functioning properly, you're going to let go of those nutrients through your intestinal system. And you may find that you like the comfort of after you've let go, just kind of sitting there a while and reading and just relaxing. You've let go of what you needed to let go, but sometimes, some people decorate their bathrooms like, and men usually do this. We do this like thrones. I saw a toilet that was a throne. I did a project with a very wealthy client once in LA. I went into the bathroom, had a massive tub, had a steam shower, steamer. I was like, this is cool. I want one of these one day. Then I went into the bathroom, and they had a separate thing for a toilet. He had a toilet, a bidet. Y'all can look that up. Had a toilet, had a bidet. It was closed off so you could shut it off. It had a custom fan so that it would soak up the aromas. And I was like, oh, that is cool. And then I stepped into it, and I turned around to shut the door, and I looked up, and on the wall was a massive flat screen. And next to the tissue was a remote control. I said, my gosh, what is this insanity? An hour later, I said, that was, because, my mind, it's like, it's a remote here, it's a TV here. I want steam, I'm going to use everything. Steam, shower, I'm going to do it all, right? So I'm sitting there. But something interesting happened, right? After a certain amount of time, my legs went dead. And I felt bad because I almost broke the flat screen because I tried to stand up real quick, and everything went out from under me, and I caught myself on the wall right before my head hit the flat screen because I was having a natural process of letting go, but I stayed in it too long. So I misused the function. The function of the toilet was not for me to make it a throne. It was for me to use it for what it was to use it and then move on. As the people tell babies in potty training, when they reach that stage, you tell them, son, baby, you got to use it or get off the pot. You don't use it or get off the pot. We ain't playing here. So when you're in this space here where you are sitting in something, you are sitting in there long enough to learn the lesson, and then you train yourself to get up and move on. And that's why journaling and writing is so important. That's why community is important, because you get to unpack that. You unpack that with people who have like minds. Do not unpack it on the internet. If you try to unpack this on the internet, some frustrated, crusty, dusty, basement-dwelling person who spends all of their time on the internet is going to shower you with advice. And they're going to tell you 100 things that absolutely do not work outside of that basement. And you're going to find yourself in a ton of other spaces. Begin, it's the ego. Find the people who when they look at you, they're not toxically positive, they are authentically positive. And during those tough times, they are the people who help lift you up, and you're the people who help lift them up. Check in with them. And that's how you move beyond that circle. Thank you, Tashana. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Look at that.
But you spoke about compliments that might be wrapped in sandpaper.
Yes.
So that's what came to my mind when you read the toxic positivity, because that toxic part is the sandpaper, but the compliment is wrapped in it. So
yes.
It's like, let me say something negative to you first,
mm-hmm.
and then follow it up with the compliment.
Yes.
So it's like, does the compliment even matter, because you scorned me before you even got to the good stuff?
I'm so glad you finally changed your life and got yourself together. I'm so glad that you finally changed and did something positive.
Shade.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so good for you. I am so happy for you.
Yeah, that shade.
Yeah. All of that. It was all of that. I got a compliment in the grocery store. Oh, you're doing great things. This was years ago. It's like, yeah, now you got, I said, yeah, I've been married about 5 years now. Yeah, married? Weren't you married before? Yeah, I was. Listen, you don't need to be married again. You just don't need that. I'm just saying, you talented, you don't need all of that. Okay, how long you been married? I've been married 28 years. I said, oh, okay, that's good. She said, but you ain't made for this. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, how's your husband? Is he in the car? No, I don't hang around him. He does his own thing. I do my own thing. So, okay, you're right. God bless you. I wasn't made for that.
Right.
Because that's not happy. That's not happy relationship. That's just rote stuff that you're doing. But again, compliments. You're so talented. You're so sad. You shouldn't do this. Thank you for not knowing absolutely anything about. I've never even been to their house. Don't even know their kids' name. I don't know anything about them. So again, people will give you that, and they will offer it up for free. That's the toxic part of that. So yeah, ignore that stuff. That's in there. All right, Andrew is on the space today, and then we'll get a couple more, and then we out. Andrew, question: when your self-identity is in transition from the old to the new, good. How do you figure out who is talking and how to converse with that transitioning, changing self? Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. If you got to write that on the mirror on a Post-it note, write it. Give yourself some grace. When you're transitioning, no, it doesn't happen instantly. The change of mind happens instantly, but you got to break some old habits. And you got to give yourself some grace for that. If you've ever had a friend who you knew in your life was struggling and you've been there for them, and you know that they mean well, you know they're doing the best they can then do, and you have always been there for them, and they call you when they are in the low places, and you never drag them lower. You always keep them from going over the cliff, and it always works out well for you. It's not codependency, it's love and it's support. You have somebody that you do that to. Most of us have somebody. They say, I call you when I'm low, you lift me up. Do that for yourself now. So if you can do that, and if you can be that person, if you can be that light for other people, give yourself permission to be that light for yourself. Tell yourself, give yourself some grace. So Drew, give yourself some grace and say, I'm in transition. I'm learning how to work beyond that, but I've identified the problem. I'm learning to work beyond it. Every now and then I'm going to bump it. And every now and then, but it's transition. I might have to start over, but I am no longer going to be distracted by you because you have not borne fruit in my life. You have not proven results. I know that you're not. So I'm moving. And each time you have to encounter that obstacle, you get better at it. You get better through practice. That's what spiritual practice is. It's consistently reminding yourself that everything is going to be all right, even when you're transitioning. All right? We got one more time. Yeah, we got Trey. Come on, Trey. Let me give you the microphone while I'm looking on that.
So my question is in regards to, you mentioned duality, and then I was thinking about self and ego. Even in there's somewhat of a duality in the mind, because you have to figure out, which one do you want to follow? You want to follow the self or the ego? But my question was dealing with ego and dealing with self and knowing that there's a duality in the external realm. How are we able to identify what is duality in front of us? And how, you get what I'm saying? Because if we live in the world of duality, it causes issues, it causes problems. So it's kind of hard for us to see which is our ego and which is ourselves. So sometimes when we try to better ourselves, our true self, and we're living in this world that is a duality, sometimes it's hard for us to know whether it is our ego or our self that's improving. So how can we identify, and I think you get what I'm trying to say, how can we identify, the duality in the external realm, and then innerly saying, okay, is this ego or is this a self? Since we have been systematically taught, from like you said, from the Western perspective of right and wrong, good or bad, or whatever that is, how can we know whether it's ego or self that we are transitioning to, should I say?
Yeah, that's good. Part of this comes, Trey, from it's all practice. You don't instantly know certain things, right, but you do get an aha revelation when you find yourself in alignment. It's like if you've ever tried to put together or assemble something like a bookcase, and you have to get the Allen wrench, and you have to put that bolt in the hole, and you have to turn the Allen wrench, and you have to make sure it catches. Right. It can be kind of frustrating when you're trying to line things up, but the minute you hit the groove and it turns, it's, oh, there it is, and you begin to. So it is a there it is moment. Many people give up in the process of trying to find the alignment because of the duality. Because everybody in the world tells you you're supposed to instantly have it and not have to seek for it in practice. So it's all about that practice. And one thing that helps, that I've learned helps, this is why journaling and writing is important, because you annotate your journey, right? And there are times where you say, there are things that I've done in the academy. There are things that I did in the academy where I was teaching. And I said, there were 3 books that I always had handy. And one day I came in and I looked for the books and I said, man, where? I don't have the books. I was literally thrown off. And I came in to teach the class. I got ready to do the word of the day and I went to the podium and I was like, there were the 3 books. And I remember that I had gotten tired of looking for the 3 books every day. So the old me said, let me look out for the future you by putting the 3 books where you would logically want them. I gotten so tied up in everything else that I had forgotten they were there. But sure enough, I get to the podium and I go, oh, and I said, thank you, old me. Thank you, old me. You looked at, there are moments when I say that. I say, thank you. I thank my old self, because my old self, when I was in a clear state of mind, I remember now, I put the books there after class. I didn't put them there during class, during the commotion. I put them there when I was in a clear moment, because I was thinking about what would work better in the future, right? It was conscious, right? And so my old me looked out for my present, and my present me reaffirmed for the future a practice that would work. So much of it is there. This dual nature is something that in the Hebrew scriptures we talk about when they say you're supposed to be in the world, but not of it. Right? So you recognize that we're spirits navigating the human experience, right? We're not just human beings down here, creatures of the world. The world, we are in the world, but we are not of it. We are of the unlimited cosmos. We just on this planet to learn stuff. The Yoruba tradition in Ifa, there's a tradition of the concept of Ibeji, this twin consciousness, right? There's also this concept of the Ori, which is the head. The Ori is the physical head. That's why you make sure you don't let just anybody touch your head, right? Because that's your space of consciousness. But it's also the spiritual space, because there is a part of you that still exists in heaven. I'm using simple terms. I want to, we get out Olarun, Amentet, we can go out all that deep stuff, but the reality is I'm using simple terms so we all understand across the board. It's not to show you how smart or deep I am, it's so we understand the concept. That's more important. So we have this concept of part of our essence that is our head, which is where we get our direction, is in heaven, existing continually in the cosmos, while part of it's trapped inside this mind here that's dealing with, and there's the duality there, right? Heaven is home, as the Odu say, heaven is home, earth is the marketplace. So we come here to learn, and we got to navigate the marketplace. So if you recognize and accept the concept that the strongest, the best part of me is existing in the larger consciousness of self, it helps it to be easier to navigate when you're dealing with a situation that's about the ego. Now, you want to have a healthy ego because you need enough of the ego to reinforce the self. The ego, the duality in ego and self, we going down the rabbit hole. I love it, but we going down the rabbit. We'll go to do this, but I love it because that, if you can't go down a rabbit hole in infinity, we shouldn't even have infinity. We got to be able to have these conversations that you'll have anywhere else. But when we talk about that ego and self, ego has its purposes. Ego has enough pride, fight or flight. It's all of that reflex, but it has enough to say, once myself is established, there's enough of my ego to protect that self. There's enough of my ego. And sometimes the release of the ego bursts a new strand of ego that is protective of the self. So it's the difference between being confident and being conceited. It's the difference between acknowledgement and arrogance. The latters are the ego. But you need enough to be able to stand at a podium and say, I am going to tap into spirit and deliver what needs to be said, and that's the way I do things. And your ego in other spaces are, well, why do you do that? Listen, I don't need to explain that to you because I don't answer to you. I love you, but I don't answer to you. Right? That is the healthy part of the ego that protects the self. The negative part of the ego would say, what the hell you say to me? Right. Don't you know that I did so and so? See, And we fight that because we want to defend what we do. And we want to justify what we do. The only justification we have to focus on and worry about is that we're living our divine purpose. That attaches us to the self. If not, you will never, your ego will never be satisfied. You'll never be able to satisfy other people. They will ask you question after question after question. You will give them answer after answer after answer, and they will still never be satisfied because it's never enough. Once you step out on a ledge to try to bridge a gap between your the ego and what other people want, because that ego is trying to feed what other people want too. You want to be seen as deep. You want to be seen as knowledgeable. You want to do that. Eventually, you're going to run out of space and you're going to split yourself. And you're going to fall into that chasm. It's two different worlds. So practice the duality of recognizing and understanding that I am a spiritual being navigating this human experience. And then you write about those spaces. And when you flip back on those pages, you can see what your old self was going through, and you can appreciate the journey to where you are now. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you. But did that answer? Did it get close to? Okay. All right. Thank you, Doc. All right. Do we got any more on here? Yes, Tony. Pass him the mic for me, y'all. Tony's going to ask off there.
You may have already said this, but I just kind of thought about this as when you were speaking about this. I want to know, like, as far as certain techniques when it comes to your masculinity being tested, especially like I've had a couple instances where I was at work and I had a guy I was working with, and I went to basically pick up some inventory or whatnot, and made it on time and everything. And the gentleman there was basically being a jerk. He was basically talking stuff, even cursing at everybody, including myself. And it got to the point where, deep in my own head, I'm thinking to myself, am I have to confront this person, I have to say something, or should I just not say anything? So, like, when that was happening, I was getting very frustrated. I found myself even leaving, getting angry. Another instance, I was at helping out an event one time, and I was telling a gentleman I was working like cashier or whatnot, and this gentleman, basically I told him how much it cost to get in, and he basically was saying that he talked to one of the people saying he didn't have to worry about paying or anything like that, and I told him, well, I haven't heard anything. Well, long story short, he then says to me, like, as it starts to get worse and worse, that I can get real violent, and I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to fight you over a $10 donation. But right. But it's like, but stuff like that, deep down inside of yourself, you get angry because you're like, it turns to fight or flight, where you're like, do I have to test this dude, or am I have to end up, because it's like I'm not a punk, pretty much. Right. But I just want to ask, as far as techniques on what you recommend, as far as when you deal with people, even women also too sometimes, how to deal with people who test your masculinity at times.
Yes. Okay, good. Good question, man. Good question. Yeah. When I look at that, Tony, and I think about that, because I get tested like that a lot. And one of the reasons I get tested like that is because I am a spiritual leader. For some reason, people are like, I want to see how spiritual this leader is, right? And I'm like, I'm a spiritual leader. I'm also from South Nashville. And I don't see any delineation between, everything is everything when you step into this space. I can love you. So I always ask myself to quit. One of the things that's worked for me from the days when it didn't, it worked. But to the spaces where it looks is, I say, what's at stake? Most of the time when you're challenged by somebody, even in a space, when it's that masculine space, most of the time when you're challenged by that, it's like a cat walking, you driving through the hood, and this cat is walking through the street super slow, and it's not in a crosswalk, and it's walking with a couple of people, and they see you drive up, and you got the right of way, and they deliberately slow down, and they look at your car, and they walk even slower, and they're gonna make you wait. And there were times where the masculine, that reptilian brain on the back of me, it says, there are three letters that form in my mind. G-A-S. Gas. Hit the gas. That's what the first thing is like. Boom, I'm like, video game. That's that reptilian side of me. I was like, okay, you want to go slow? I can hit you, and the police are going to back me up because you're jaywalking. But again, remember, when people open their mouths or their actions, they put their brains on display. My parents teach, and I teach it here all the time. I look in that space and I say, breathe. That's number one. breathe, step back, and put it to perspective. Is it worth it? My heart. No, she's affirming. She's affirming the question, is it worth it? She's not saying, yes, we had a yes in here. It was like, yes, it's worth it. The beautiful thing about, here's another sign of intelligence, babbling in children. Again, I talked about it earlier. When children are babbling, when they're solving problems ahead of time, when they are children, when they are able to be by themselves, that is a sign of intelligence too. All of these things come into, but also another sign of intelligence of the baby is imagination and creativity. But this stays with us. We have the ability to manifest things. We can tell an entire story in our mind. And we can tell it as we get older with experience. We put it on experience. I talked about that imagination. I think it was last week or so. But when we talk about that imagination, that is the superpower of human beings. So in that moment, breathe in, breathe out, and I see the imagination. And as a storyteller, I know what happens. I run over this person. Next thing you know, I'm on the news for running over somebody. I may or may not end up in jail, depending on the judge I end up in front of and whether they like the color of my skin or not. Then I got a record. Then my family don't see me. Then I'm giving my high five through a plate glass for the rest of my life. And then I say to myself, is it worth it? Just so that my ego can be stroked and my masculinity can stand up. Especially with somebody who may have reached a point, and this is where the empathy comes. I reach a point where I feel sorry, where you have reached such a low point where you may not have resources, you may not have family, you may be depressed, you may be on drugs, but the only power you got is you can slow that traffic down right now. So I say, more power to you. And I nod and I smile when that happens. Because I say, I will give you, I will release this. If you want to be the king of Lafayette, right now, for some reason it always happens to me at Lafayette. If you want to be the king of Lafayette, you got it. That night I'm driving home, can barely see, and I catch a blink in my eye in the last second, and I see a dude coming. I mean, I swerved and barely, I told this story that bit, I barely missed knocking him off. This dude was coming on a black bike, no reflectors, black pants, black hoodie, dark skin. Couldn't see him, no street light. Luckily, I saw a reflection on the spoke and spun, and he kept driving like nothing happened. He looked at me like, dude, what's up? And I was like, wow. But immediately I wanted to turn and follow him and chase him down. So I wanted to beat a man down for almost making me kill him. So that's terrible, you know. I was like, I want to beat you up for making me almost kill you. So I'm almost kill you because it's crazy. But again, it's that space that you can get captured in the moment. Ego does get captured in the moment. Breathing and getting perspective is important too. You can let things go. I will let a lot of things go because I think about the stakes. I'm here to do some amazing things. Each and every one is here to do some amazing things. Those amazing things don't include entertaining foolishness. It just doesn't. If you need that, you need that. That's going to be fine. So Tony, hope that helps. In those moments, you have to diffuse it, and sometimes you have to be the bigger person. I've been called interesting names. But as old folks say, it ain't what you call, it's what you answer to.
Thanks a lot.
Denny's pass that to her, and then we'll get to that wrap. We got a good one going, man. And Lakeisha's in the chat, she's right. The concept of talking to self is this part of mastering self. Yes, it is. Because part of mastering yourself is talking to yourself. I tell people all the time, I will talk to myself. I will talk to myself out loud. Mm-hmm. I will sing to myself. I will talk to myself because that's the way I hear. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I will talk myself out of doing things that would harm me because I said, you know what, let me talk this out. If I do this, nobody's in the house. If I do this, this is what's gonna happen. I've seen it happen before. Oh, thank you, self. Appreciate that. You looked out for me. Point number 2. Go ahead.
In a sense of duality, we are all gifted with an intuitive nature from birth. So when your intuition gives you the feeling of one thing, then the ego says something because we're speaking about self.
Yes.
Everything is everything. All of these things are a part of you, but in that intuitive moment, it may raise the question of, is this self or is this ego, when it's your intuition. So it's kind of like the question that you asked, but yeah, many times our intuition is very low because we've been groomed to confirm ourselves by
There it is.
Tamesia said this.
Yes.
Star said this, and that feels good.
Yes.
But because it kind of goes to the ego. I'm not going to too much listen to the intuitive Denise because I believe what Tamesia says. I respect what she says. Star compliments me or adds to me, but it's the ego. How do you continue to strengthen your intuitive nature as self and not fall into what we've been groomed to believe, that what Rev Jeff says about me holds more weight than the intuitive nature says? Move away from that.
Yes, it's very simple. Without going too deep into it, it's very, very simple, Denise. When you are needing to hear more things from the outside than you do from within, that's when you know there's an issue. That's when you know there's an issue. Many of us have problems when we're moving toward trying to hear ourselves and our intuition, because we have blurred that line. With that intuition that came to us in those moments of quietude and silence, again, judgment of intelligence, babies early on, the ability to be to themselves. When we lose that, then we start needing to be around other people all the time to affirm who we are. That opens a door for the inflation of the ego, for people to blow into us. But once they have it, I don't care how long, eventually it gets deflated. And eventually it goes away, and then we get that feeling of loss. And we often say three words, three powerful words that come to us in those moments where that deflation happens at that crossroads. And those three words are, I knew it. It's when somebody leaves us. It's when something runs out. It's when the praise stops coming. It's when somebody proves that they're not working for our good. When we find ourselves like, I knew it. There was something about that situation. I just knew it. See, that's your intuition. But what happens is, when we have the I knew it moments, instead of centering ourselves around the meditative space of what did you know, that's talking to ourselves and listening, we say I knew it, and we start attacking ourselves. And when we start attacking ourselves and going down in a negative slope, then we begin to attract other people who will join in and pile on. We go right back to the ego again to try to fix it. We cannot fix it in that way. You cannot fight the fire with fire. I don't know who said that, fight fire with fire, but that's a war term. But you cannot fight the fire with fire, because the only thing that can beat a fire like that is more fire. And you don't want that, because more fire destroys everything. You fight fire with something that is opposite. So that's what you have to do in those moments. You have to pull yourself into the space where you give yourself permission to trust the intuition. Now, I'm going to say this. Everybody's got to learn to get comfortable spending time with themselves. If you get into a space where you have some downtime and some alone time, and you get nervous and you get jittery, you start getting the shakes, and then you start going for the device, and you start trying to get on the internet, you start sending out texts. You know, you're like, damn, I'm by myself, I'm trying to see. And then here's the text, here's what you do on the text. I'm gonna show you what you do on the text. This is how you know you're in the wrong space for texting when you're feeling by yourself, because you don't do this. Open my text. Oh, send a text. You do this. Open my text. Okay, 2019. That's the last time I texted that person. And you think about text. Right. That's why you scroll so much, because you feel like, I gotta find somebody. And that's why bad things happen. Because that 2019 text, that was something you walked away from. And you did for a reason. But because you were uncomfortable being by yourself, you started going back to the old things because your ego needed to be felt and your ego needed to be heard. Find the space where you say, I am okay learning from myself, because that's going to put you in touch with your intuition. It's going to give you clarity. Spend that time. I don't care if it's at night. Some people have kids, but it's got to be early in the morning. Find that time. You find that time to get clarity. If you have a partner, then you have time to get clarity with them too. Then you engage with everybody else. But you always separate moments so that you can stay in touch with your intuition. The more you do it as a practice, the more you'll be able to recognize what is feeding into yourself and what is taking away from you. That goes to point number, where are we talking? No, don't worry about the slide. We got it. It's down in here. But that goes to, I believe it was point number 2 as it came up. Yes, well, point number 1, don't allow your old ego to sabotage your new self. And spiritual terrorism happens from within and without. Sometimes we're our own worst critic. We tear ourselves down. Give yourself that grace in that space, and we're going to be all right. All right, y'all. So our hearts and minds are clear. Let's take a deep breath. Exhale, let it go. Take another deep breath at home and abroad. Exhale, let it go. Allow the eyes to close, the heads to bow, the hearts to open. Divine Source, we give thanks in this moment. Thank you for the word today. Thank you for the recognition that everything is everything. Thank you for the recognition that we are here to do good in the world. Thank you for the recognition that we are here on divine assignment. In this moment, in this space right now, we accept the assignment. We sign our name on the spiritual dotted line. And as we sign our name on the spiritual dotted line, we commit to delve deep within, to hear from the space of spirit, from the space of intuition, from the space of higher self. And as we stand in this capital S space, we lose the need to have ego. We lose the need to have conflict. We release the need to have stress because we find the good things in our lives and we amplify them. We embrace and inhale the superpower of good. Thank you for the recognition in this moment. Thank you for the aha moments. Thank you for the ability to talk to ourselves. Thank you for the ability to listen, because when we listen to the highest self, we are listening to you. We are reminding ourselves of the contract we signed to do good in this world. We are reminding ourselves that we have an infinite supply of love, an infinite supply of power, an infinite supply of joy, an infinite supply of gratitude, and we embrace and live in it right now. It is infusing us with love and divine light. We are overflowing right now to our children, to our friends, to our families. We extend this covering of love to them. We ease their path. We speak open doors in their world. We speak that everyone under the sound of my voice will be changed and transformed and reminded that when everything is everything, when we operate from a space of love, we can do everything except fail. For these things, we are grateful. As we head into the week now, we speak that those who are covered under the sound of my voice will recognize and remember the people who remind them of who they truly are, and that they will come together in these circles to bring about the change that is needed so much in the world today. We embrace this love, we embrace this joy, and we proclaim the good going forth. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Hotep. Shalom. Aho. Namaste. Ashe. All right. Yeah, I had to say that aho moment came out. That's a Lodge language, Lakota Sioux tradition. Proclamation of so it is. Let us rise to our feet if all hearts and minds are clear today. We give thanks. As all hearts and minds are clear and we move into the world that awaits our light, as we sway in this blessed love energy, as we raise our voices together as one, we tune our frequency and balance with the universe for the peace, the love, the joy that we accept as present in the here and right now. It's going to be an awesome week. It's going to be an amazing week. It's going to be your week to put yourself on the map in a good way. Not yourself one word, but yourself 2 words with a capital S. And so it is. Let us sing together and we'll put the slide on the screen. If today's a brighter day and we are on our way, then we can begin to heal ourselves again. Oh, we remember yesterday, and yet today's a day. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. Ooh, close your eyes and imagine you're in a mirror. Sing it now. If today's a brighter day and we are on our way, then we can begin to heal ourselves again. Oh, we remember yesterday, and yet today's the day. Oh, yes, sir. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. Open your eyes and look at somebody. Now you got that love. God's reminding me to look at you and see family. God's reminding me, God's reminding me to look at you and see family. We speak that the love of God, the wisdom of the ancestors, and the infinite and abundant power of the universe rest, rock, rule, and abide with you henceforth, now and forevermore. Let us sing together. Amen, amen. Hotep shalom, namaste, Ashe. We love y'all. See y'all virtually next week for Yoga Sunday. And in between, y'all just keep on loving. I love y'all. That's a fact you cannot change. We'll see you next week at Infinity.